Hello, everyone, and welcome to this live stream special. Christmas is almost here. I know we're eyeing up the pub as we can speak, all that stuff. However, I'm glad you're with me in the short term. Oh my goodness, my headphones falling down. I'm just that excited because I have an awesome guest here now that's from an architecture practice that I've heard about before. However, together we're going to learn a little bit about who HLW are and the person that is going to bring us into that whole world is Bronte, who is managing director. How are you?
I'm very well. Thanks for having me.
I really appreciate you here. Now, just before we talk about HLW, the design studio, and I've got to know you a little bit before this. Maybe some people in the audience haven't met you before. So can you just tell us a quick little bit about yourself?
Sure. About myself or about HLW?
We can do both together. You go
Okay,
for it.
so much to tell you about. I'll start with HLW. So HLW are an American or a global architecture firm founded in New York many, many years ago. In fact, we're one of the oldest architecture firms in the world, 1885. But I guess, you know, although we're quite old, we have, I guess, tried to stay relevant and in touch and evolved with our clients and are very proud of our legacy. But I guess our legacy, talks to us as a firm and as a group of people always wanting to continuously change and evolve the built environment to match society's needs. And I guess that legacy is something that we're really proud of. We first started working in America with Alexander Bell on his telephone exchanges many, many years ago, and we're still working today with some of the kind of most cutting edge, innovative clients in the world in tech sectors, in all sorts of sectors actually, and base build and landlord and developer world. So we're very proud of that legacy. Here in London, we've been in London for about 30 years. And predominantly reflect our work in London reflects, I guess, society in London. So a lot of financial sector work, a lot of technology sector work, as well as a lot of base build repositioning work that really, I guess, bounces off and addresses, current client and end user needs.
Very cool. Very cool. And as we can see here, some beautiful stuff. I love that. So we got all the heritage over the years, but also there's a kind of fresh take on work. Now, you have been at HLW for a little bit. I am dying to know a little bit more about yourself, though. How does your world in architecture and you coming into HLW, can you tell us a little bit about that story?
Sure. So I joined HLW, I think it was in 2009. I have to maybe go back to my LinkedIn and just double check that. Around 2009. I'm actually an interior designer by trade.
Oh, cool.
And have always worked in architecture firms as part of the interior design team on all sorts of projects. You might hear from my accent, I'm Australian. So back in the day, I worked in Australia for a firm that we did a lot of multi-res, high-rise development, as well as corporate interiors, everything kind of in between. And just had itchy feet, I guess, as a person that was passionate about travel, seeing the world. I think architects and designers, definitely have a trait or a thread that runs through them, which is curiosity. And I had a big, not just a thread, I had a big rope running through my body that I just wanted to travel and see the world and understand design and what it means to different cultures and how it responds to different climates, etc. So I made the decision in 2005 to move to the UK and started working in London. It was a very busy industry at the time, right before, I guess, the last recession, 2009 hit, but just came to a vibrant, bursting city that, was inspirational to me. And here I am 20 something years or almost 20 years later, still here, still designing and still inspired by a lot of things around me and a lot of people around me.
That's brilliant. I love little stories where I'll just go to London for a bit, and you find that job. And
2-year working holiday visa I came out on, and here I am, married with 2 kids and a mortgage and a dog. So life takes you down roads that you least expect. But it's been wonderful.
Well, that's brilliant, and it's quite nice that has happened. So I'm glad to hear. And hey, it's always good to know that HLW supported you with that visa application and all that stuff as well.
Yeah,
So
100%.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not.
actually. So I was just going to say, it's one of the. I think one of the best things about working at HLW is we have a very diverse workforce from all around the world, but also we have a fair bit of inter-office travel. We work, although we're seen to be a very large firm, we very much embrace a small firm agility, working together, communicating, being transparent. So, we've had one of our senior designers in the London office has just moved back after working 7 years in the States, working on one of the biggest projects in the world, actually. In the Google Gradient project. Likewise, we've got a senior designer who's from our LA office. One of our designers that actually did her internship year with us is now living and working in LA. So it's an amazing group of people that love to work together, love learning about each other, and really bounce off each other.
Brilliant. I love that. It's good to know that as well. I think that's very important. So I'm glad that you keep that in mind, that kind of small, close-knit team, but also you get to work on some cool, big projects because you can handle that as well. Now, what I was going to say, if you want, because we've got that video on YouTube, so I thought it would be cool to maybe show the audience that, and then afterwards, if anyone's got any questions, then please feel free to do it. Otherwise, we can just continue to kind of unpick all the cool stuff behind the scenes in the HLW office. But are you happy if I put that video on just now?
Let's go for it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now, you as well, you just got to keep an eye on the tech here. So I'm relying on you, Bronte. If you can't hear it or anything like that, you just got to jump in. Don't be polite, just tell it to me like it is. Okay. So this is the preview to when I was like, it's a part one, just trying to get it up, panicking in the presentation, going, oh no. But let's see.
3 years ago, trying to use Teams.
Yeah, Teams was when I was part one. It was all about getting the drawings printed out in the rooms and stuff, and they really wasn't much virtual.
I spent the first 12 months on a drawing board because my boss at the time was like, you learn to put pen to paper and you learn to think about design if you have to scratch it out with a razor blade. So I spent the first 12 months, with a pen and a drawing board before I was allowed to move to AutoCAD. We weren't on Revit in those days.
Fair enough. I feel you. I still wake up sometimes in the middle of the night freaking out that I haven't bound the documents ready. So I'm confident even after.
Who can use a binder anymore?
Well, if there is one knocking around, I am actually your man for that task. Getting it all right, making sure it all fits, running up and down. I enjoyed it. But anyways, I will quit digressing and I'll put on the trailer now. So here we go. You hear it?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Great.
For me, what makes HLW and the team unique is that we're hands-on, passionate about every project we do. We really like to embody our motto, which is our work tells your story. It's not about us, it's about our clients, and the design should emulate everything our clients want.
Strategy and discovery is a key component of a project that enables us to gain vital insights into a business's ways of working and their people and their processes. It's about ensuring that the wow factor that you get is not just about a first impression, but it's that the people who work with you are actually delivering to their best ability and that the space enables them to do that.
What I like about designing workspaces is turning a client's vision into a physical space.
The thing I love the most about my job is being creative and innovative.
You get the opportunity to work and collaborate globally across all of our offices.
Something that's very important to us is that every project is unique, no copying or pasting. We're not interested in house styles or chasing fashion. Good design should be fully inclusive and connect people with the physical environment in a meaningful and sustainable way.
At HLW, we use Revit on every single project that we do, primarily for the benefits it brings to design communication, but also for the benefits it brings to the whole coordination process for the wider consultant team.
As project lead, it's my responsibility to take the entire project team and the client team on the journey from beginning to the end of the project. This makes sure that everybody is fully versed in the vision and the passion that we have for the project, all the way from the beginning to the end of the project.
Our aim is to design just for people. So we are really focused and really care about the mindfulness and about design, well-being, so just with your mind and with your body and everybody be happy.
It's great working with people from around the world and different cultures.
As a designer, the process of layering information from concept through to 3D modeling is, I think, where I get my passion.
While we do offer sustainability accreditations for programs such as BRAM, LEED, SCA, FitWell, we try to incorporate those principles into all of our designs.
HLW believes in good education and offers work placements to design students, creating a great exposure to the working environment.
So I've just started at HLW, only been here a few weeks, but I've met loads of great people, loads of great designers. Seems like a great work-life balance. Go to the pub, we hang out. It's great to be in the office. It's just a really cool place to work.
Digital transformation is affecting every single sector within the areas that we work. And that really means how can we develop workplaces which supports organisations which are moving faster and having to be more adaptable. At HLW, we're really looking to create an emphasis on really beautiful functional spaces that are engaging and create wellness for our clients, but really have this high level of functionality to support how they want to work now and how they want to work in the next 5 or 10 years.
Everyone brings something different to the table, and what we get at the end is a really special outcome.
There we go. Very, very cool. Now, I just noticed I'm not subscribed, so I'm going to subscribe live. So where I am subscribed, everyone should check out as well the HLW design YouTube channel, right? It's there.
Yeah.
Got some cool stuff coming out.
Yeah.
Now, that was such a cool office and all this stuff. And it was quite nice to see in there. And there seemed like a few good characters there. Was it John, the office manager, mentioned about going down the pub? Now, I know it's not all about that, but it's good to know that you can have a laugh while doing these beautiful projects as well. And my goodness, we weren't short of them. There's lots of cool schemes. So tell me more about the London office then.
So I was going to say we have quite a strong culture globally, but in the London office, we like to work hard and we like to play hard. We like to, educate ourselves, all of those sorts of things. So as a team, we actually now do, post-COVID, we actually have HLW Wednesday, all smashed into one, HLW Wednesday. And we have a roster of team activities. So once a month, we have a global town hall. Once a month, we have supplier speed dating, where we invite suppliers to come in. They get to meet and interact with our team, but our team also get to meet 4 or 5 new suppliers that they don't meet on everyday, cycles. We have exchange sessions, we have share sessions, and we have trips out to, the Serpentine Gallery or whatever it may be that's relevant and interesting at that time. We're very well known in the industry for what is called Halloween. So the London office hosts a Halloween party every year, and it's essentially our client and colleague thanks for an amazing year party. And we just actually had it last Thursday, 2nd of November. And it was awesome and crazy and some amazing costumes. The HLW team dress up in a surprise theme costume every year. So this year we were blue vampires. Over the years we've been construction zombies and all sorts. We've even done flash mob dances that we've been known of.
Oh, wow.
So it was 10 years this year. So it was a big event, an anniversary, and it was an awesome party. So you can go on to our blog, and I think the photos are going up today. So those sorts of things are what really, I guess, strengthen and embed a culture, and we're very proud of that.
Brilliant. Oh, wow. I'm glad that the podcast was booked in today. Gives you guys all time to settle down after Halloween.
Had we been Thursday last week, you would see in the background here a team of like 5 or 6 makeup artists and a lot of people working on Revit that already had their hair and makeup done, and you have like zombies sitting in the office working on a building. It's hilarious, the kind of preamble to the party.
I love it. Well, I think that's really important, isn't it? Because we all love architecture. Yes, you can build beautiful buildings. There's going to be hard times as well because it's tricky. You're managing a building, all that stuff. However, you've got to remember, it's a team, isn't it? And as a team, it's really important to
100%. And our team isn't just the HLW team. Our team is our industry, and inviting along our colleagues that we work really hard with during that. During the year, not just our clients, but the MEP consultants, all the engineers, the contractors, the teams that we've delivered some amazing projects with. We're very proud of those relationships, and we like to celebrate with them, which is what Halloween is about.
I love that. That's great, and it's quite interesting because you touched upon it earlier. So you're an interior designer. There's a lot of architects as well at HLW. So how many? My goodness, what kind of disciplines have we got going on here and cool stuff? I'd love to know.
So predominantly we're architecture and interior designers.
Yeah.
But we also have what we call specialty studios in-house as well. So we have we've got a name for everything. So we've got our ARC studio, who are a workplace strategists and strategy team, and they do everything from master plan strategies and briefing and engagements through to change management, and they develop some of the global guidelines for global companies that probably shall remain nameless, but big tech companies that want consistency across their portfolio. So our ARC team also run our research and insights team, and they do research into all sorts of interesting things that are happening in our world. We've just finished a piece on the role of a work cafe. We've done financial sector insights. So we've got a lot of new things coming out through that team. Then we have our BrandX team, who are our signage and graphics specialty partners, and they do some amazing work as well. We have our lighting design studio known as Spark, and then we also have our sustainability and wellness team known as Beyond, so we do majority of accreditations we can do in-house at HLW, LEED, BREEAM, we do well, health and safety, all sorts of things, as well as bespoke charters. And I think the Beyond team have really made an impact on our own business as well. We've signed up to 2030 commitments. We've introduced what we call a new material library policy, which has taken out any harmful products out of our library. Our designers cannot specify anything that doesn't comply with our personal commitments. Interestingly, I went to a conference a couple of weeks ago, and it hadn't actually, the penny hadn't dropped until a couple of weeks ago, that the things that we're putting into our projects and our designs now, in our buildings now, they're going to be here in 2030. So if we're going to commit and meet our 2030 targets, we need to be committing to it and designing to it now, which I hadn't done the maths before a couple of weeks ago, and it's really important. So
yeah,
very proud that we're trying to make headway in that world as well.
I love it, and thank you for kind of breaking that down. Now, I know there's no right way to answer this question. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the projects, and you've got a lot of cool, exciting projects. Now, the tricky question would be like, which one is your favorite project or were you most excited about? But that's a mean question because you can't say that because you enjoy all your projects. It's like having children, isn't it? You can't say you have one in particular. However, maybe if I get the project section up, you can just tell us a little bit about different projects and one or two cool things you do like on some of them,
Okay. Yeah, I'm more than happy to do that. It's a good way. It's like playing roulette on a website.
Yes, exactly.
You're going to do something that I don't know.
No, I'm driving the map. So you can tell me, if you tell me roughly where to go, I'll follow it down on the project.
So the one you just hovered on, Kingfisher. So Kingfisher are an amazing client. We recently finished their offices in London, and For those of you who don't know Kingfisher, they actually own and operate a whole lot of hardware stores across the globe. So you would have heard of B&Q, you would have heard of many of their brands. So they're the parent company. They had some pretty ambitious embodied carbon and sustainability targets, and we actually are very proud of this project when it comes to our Beyond team and our design team having to implement it, because they had a 78% reduction in embodied carbon, which is one of the highest achievements we've actually achieved, since we started doing embodied carbon measurements and projects. So very proud of that one. And Kingfisher are doing an amazing, have an amazing new office to support their workforce and their global ambitions and commitments when it comes to ESG.
I love it. It's a very beautiful project. Is there one other one that sticks out? And then
I'm very proud of the bottom left one.
This one?
Yeah, so that's for a client called Roku, who are I don't know whether you know Roku, but they're a global streaming and hardware company.
Yeah.
They have their Roku TV. So we did their new offices. This is their new offices in Cambridge. So an amazing building. I'm very proud of this because not only does it look amazing, but it recently won a BCO award, BCO regional award. So very proud of that one because it's nice to kind of have other bodies such as the BCO recognize the team's work. So that was, and to be honest, that's our first BCO award that we've ever won. So very proud of finally getting one of those.
Wow, I love it. I just was going to say in the background on this picture here, let me go back here one quickly second. I think that's Daniel Craig in the background, isn't it? James Bond.
Right. So they have all the meeting rooms in this building designed and themed around Cambridge elements. So or TV shows or British TV shows that all have some sort of link to Cambridge. Now, I can't remember what the Crystal Maze link is, to be honest. I'm bad at remembering things like that, but you go into every office and there's a little story about the link to Cambridge, the link to TV, and the link to technology. So it's a lovely office that you're always learning something new and exploring, and their team love it.
I love it. I love the Crystal Maze, and looks like a cool office. And I'll take a meeting in the Daniel Craig room.
Yeah,
no
exactly.
problem.
Come meet me in the Crystal Maze.
yeah. That would probably be the room I would pick. Sorry, James Bond. The Crystal Maze is the childhood show. That's what you watched when you were sick, or you were skipping school. You're gonna watch the
Well, I didn't grow up with the Crystal Maze, you see, so it was all new to me. So I learned a lot on that project, just listening into some conversations that were actually very foreign to me. But I now feel like I might be an expert in 70s and 80s British TV shows.
Yeah, don't worry. The Crystal Maze is definitely a good one. And don't worry, I'm normally the one that everyone rings me during the live stream.
You know what? I get in so much trouble because my phone's always on silent, and then of course the one time it's not. Apologies.
No, don't worry. We're all friends here. I like it. I think you know what? It's a real office. There's always things happening, and so that's what I was going to ask about as well, because these projects are cool and they're done and they're in and they're beautiful. I was going to ask, and I know there's NDAs and stuff, so don't worry. I don't need to give any of that. But what are you excited about? Because we're almost going towards the next year. 2023's gone already. Are you excited about some stuff that's popping up then with HLW?
There's always new and exciting stuff, and it's whether we can talk about it is the challenge. Yeah, we've got some amazing projects on the book. The team are working on some amazing designs. We're doing a really super challenging, but I'm really excited about the design that's emerging, a big new building for a big financial client out in Dublin. It's currently a hole in the ground. We've got a couple of years to go, but that's going to be amazing. And we're working alongside a local base build architect out there. We're doing all the interiors, and it's a challenge, and it's going to be a wonderful project. So I'm really excited about the team. Are finishing stage 3 design on that at the moment, so they're very much going to earn their Christmas turkey and their Christmas champagne. We've got a few projects through Europe that we've got going on. One in Amsterdam for a big tech company. So out of London, we actually cover for our global clients, the whole of Europe. So we're delivering projects in Warsaw at the moment, in Amsterdam. We just finished one in Milan. So we've got a few more coming up. So we're very proud of that. And that's something our team love. They love being able to kind of, within the framework of work, visit new countries, meet, people from different cultures. It's very enriching as a designer. You meet people from all walks of life, from all kind of, facets of the world.
Yeah.
So we've got some amazing projects coming online through Europe as well. And then I think, globally, there's some really exciting projects that are kind of coming up, buildings. We have a team in New York that do a lot of high-rise development. So there's a lot of those coming out as well. So, yeah, excited. I think 2024 is going to be a great year.
It sounds really cool to me. Now, I'm next, I want to kind of unpack a tiny bit about because a lot of people here might be interested in working at HLW, and I'd love to know what you look for in that person. However, just before we do that, one quick question. When you were talking, I was thinking about, next year, this year's been a big topic, has been like AI in architecture and these emergent technologies being used. Now, I don't think that'll ever replace the architect. However, what I'd love to know is, what do you have any kind of feelings on where that may go, or what it's been like this year, all this AI popping up and stuff?
Yeah, AI is a hot topic at the moment, right? It's it's interesting because I guess there are two schools of thought, that the human brain and the human creativity, just the ability to kind of process and problem solve, a lot of us believe can't be replaced by AI. But there are for sure a lot of activities that we as design and architecture firms do that can be much more efficient and much more automated. And I think as a firm, we're looking at both those sides of the AI table. We actually have a team at HLW called the Next Team, who are specifically dedicated to everything technology, and that's how we use technology today in our practice in terms of the use of Revit, how we do design communication, use Enscape and take people through buildings, all of those sorts of things in terms of supporting our team for today. And they're also looking at the future and how we can, I guess, continue our legacy of being at the cutting edge of embracing technology and understanding technology and being sensible about its use to really enhance our business and not shy away from it and wait for it to happen, but to try and be there, understand it, and maybe even try to lead some of the solutions around how we use it within our businesses. Yeah. There are a lot of programs now that generate, renders and make me a space that feels like Alice in Wonderland meets I don't know what. The quality isn't quite there. There are many teams both within our own business and other architecture firms that are working on their own versions of how we can generate AI imagery and concept imagery. But again, I still think that there's some element, and we say this to all our design teams, don't get stuck on Revit, don't get stuck on computer. There's something amazing and beautiful about being able to sit down and sketch and scribble and really kind of stimulate your brain to think in a different way rather than think about it on a screen. So we very much encourage our teams to continue all of those, those very unique qualities and abilities that designers and architects have, which is the ability to sketch and draw and think bigger.
Yeah, well said. It's true. I don't think generating an image would survive in a crit, would it? However,
can you imagine? Yeah, well,
I can see how your first year of uni, you go into uni the first time, you're drinking a few beers, you run it. It's seductive, isn't it? However, we know how complicated the projects are. But to get the mood going or get some ideas, maybe it's that prompt to get you to where you're going. However.
I think actually the really good thing is it's challenging us as designers, and it's making us not be lazy, and it's going, actually we need to make sure that we're not being lazy and using our brains to continue our craft and make sure it presents a value to our clients and the world.
Yeah, well said. That's very true. Now, now I touched briefly upon there, pitching at university and stuff, and I appreciate your journey, but also let's focus on what you do now. I'm sure one of the responsibilities of running the London practice is you're involved in hiring, or you're involved when you're looking for people. You're part of that process, and I imagine there might be a few listeners in the audience that have potentially interested or have had an eye on joining your company for a while. Do you have any advice in 2023 on people who are now doing their applications? Any advice that you think sticks out in a good way to grab your attention, or do you have any thoughts or advice in general on when how someone would grab your attention in a good way?
Yeah, I mean, we follow, or we have a great internship program here, both in London and globally at HLW. And I think one of the best opportunities you can get as a designer or an architect going through university is to take up an internship position. It's hard and you get thrown in the deep end. But the skills that you can learn by being able to embed, and recognizing that it might not be the perfect place for you long term, but you need to start to build a platform to, dare I say it, stand above or stand ahead of some of the other people you're going through university with. So I'd say if you have the opportunity, I think doing an internship is a really, really good way to get ahead when you do graduate. And then I think, not being shy about, do your research, look at the firms that you want to work for, and really kind of, understand what areas they work in and what it really piques your interests.
Yeah.
I think that's easy to say further down the track in your career. I am now working in a world that I think when I graduated, I didn't ever expect to work, I didn't picture myself here, but this is where the kind of path takes you. But I'd say, shop around, meet people, go to industry events, ask how they started out, and just try to put yourself out there and really just kind of explore the industry and, meet people and make connections. Because I think, funnily enough, that is predominantly how our industry works. It's connections and it's people. And I think whether it's starting out, getting your first job, or whether it's further down the line, growing your network, because as you go up the hierarchy of the world that we live, you have to continue to have your network to grow business development opportunities and leadership qualities and management qualities. So network and starting to build your network right from the start is probably the best piece of advice I can give people.
Yeah, that's really, I wholeheartedly agree. And I think that as well, I just remind everyone, you have to start somewhere, isn't it? I had no network at the start, but you build that up over time. And that's the thing, it gets easier over time. But exactly like you said, if you just put yourself out there at the start, then you go further. And yes, you can feel uncomfortable doing it initially, but the more you do it, the better, isn't it? Whether it's online and physical. And I think both those worlds, it really, really helps. And you might get invited to the Halloween party. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's the ultimate, right?
It does sound.
We look forward to having you there next year.
Okay, I'll be on best behavior, but
Okay.
I love a good party. I was the last question I was going to ask you. That's really useful advice for anyone that's thinking of looking. And what I'd love to know is that you've seen as well. You've been at HLW. You mentioned since 2008-ish. We'll have to check your LinkedIn, like you say, but it's a substantial amount of time. What kind of person does really well in the company, in your experience? I'd love to know.
When I interview someone, and I think about when I interviewed at HLW, I was shopping around to find my home and something that lit the fire in my belly. We were talking earlier, and I said you've got to want to get out of bed every morning, and sometimes it's really hard to get out of bed, and you've got to really enjoy your job, because there will be hard days, there will be long days. When you're having to do tasks that you just there are things in architecture and design that just are you have to do them, but they're not the most exciting part of your job. So I'd say what I look for in people is them knowing what they're looking for, and that we can match each other's ambitions in that. So passionate people that want opportunity, people that are willing to work really hard for, to achieve their goals, people that, can sit back and look at big picture, but also understand there are steps along the way that they can work towards. And I think being a good team member, this is not an individual sport that we work in. This is a team sport, and actually really excellent design and really excellent projects come from teamwork. It's not down to any one individual. So team player is another important trait that we look for.
Very, very useful. Thank you. Now, there was one last question, last question that popped up while you were talking, because it's your wealth of experience. I was like, oh, I got to ask one more thing, because you mentioned, you're not from, I'm Welsh and I came to London to study architecture. You came to London and you were working out what you want to do. However, you're from Australia, right? And sometimes I think some people move to London and they manage to get a job. Sometimes people struggle initially in that transition from moving somewhere where you've got experience to maybe London where you haven't got so much experience. Do you have any advice to make it easier, or kind of tidbits of information you'd give to someone if they were doing that to kind of make it less hard for them?
A very practical one: open a bank account before you move to a different country.
Okay, good. Yeah.
You know what? I don't think the worlds are that far apart between countries. I think that there is for sure some challenges that I faced in terms of fire regs in London are very different to fire regs in Australia, for example. Because the type of building and the history in the building and how they build buildings are so different. So there is a learning curve, but actually I think that that's part of the exciting and enriching your knowledge and understanding of how the world works and what the difference is and how you should be designing buildings in different climates and cultures and all of that. I think actually sometimes, from my perception, and maybe I'm biased, but I love interviewing and meeting people that have made that leap, because I think it's a brave thing to do. I didn't realize it at the time, but now I look at other people doing it. I think it's a brave thing to do. I think it says a lot about your passion and interests and the type of person you are. So I think don't be scared, because really, there's not much difference between many countries and how we do things and our world. Even at HLW, we have designers jumping between metric and imperial all the time, and they survive and they get there, and actually they're that much richer and knowledgeable for doing that. So I think people see it maybe as a challenge or a disadvantage. I see it as an advantage, because it actually gives you another element and a definition to your character and the type of person, and therefore the type of designer you're going to be, and how you can bring your knowledge from another country or your knowledge from another culture and enrich another business by bringing that to them.
That's well said. That's really practical advice, and I think you have to remind us doing it. I love, like as you said, it's brave, and also why not apply to HLW? Come on. Send Bronte a message. She's right here, and we will get on to all the contact details in a second. But just before I do, I've asked a few questions, and I really appreciate you giving us, basically an unfiltered view into what I think seems like a really cool architecture and interior design studio. However, before you go, it's only fair you get to ask me one or two questions if you want as well, because otherwise it's a one-way conversation. Do you have any questions that you'd like to ask me at all?
I've got two questions. One's bigger and one's... I want to know about your lamp in the background. Is that a real lamp or is it a moving background?
Oh, I do get comments about this. This is the Nanoleaf. Nanoleaf, you need to sponsor me, by the way, but I paid for this, right? A Nanoleaf is kind of like a gaming thing, and me and my partner, we just put it up on the wall. You can basically put the lights where you want and control it. So this LED, so I don't want to burn the planet too much and all that stuff, but it's a bit of fun,
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah,
Very
I
cool.
need to
And
keep.
I noticed the first time we met, I was like, wow, that is really cool. So I might have to get one of those for. I think my son or my daughter probably love it as well. So
Yeah,
and then my more important question is: you meet a lot of people like me that are in the industry that are what do you see as the biggest challenges for graduates coming out and what they're looking for when they're looking to join a company like ours?
Yeah, really good question. I think that it's difficult for a few things because, and as a business, I've been the part one looking, and I've also seen behind the scenes. We touched upon, yeah, I've been in recruitment for a while, and also where we are now. But in that time period, you talked about starting when the drawing board was there. It's a very different industry, and I think that where the businesses have adjusted, but it's hard to adjust big companies. So, for example, HLW got offices everywhere, and yes, you move with the times. But where I'm going with this is the factors outside of the companies have changed radically. So here in the UK, when I studied, the year before me, it was £1,000 a year. I went up to £3,000 a year, and I felt unlucky. But now it's £9,000 a year to study architecture, and it's 7 years, and the cost of living. So it's a very expensive industry to go into. And yes, it's still amazing, and I encourage people to do it because the salaries can be higher in other industries. However, you're building buildings, it is a lifestyle business. Yes, you're going to have tricky days, but it is a really good profession. However, I do think that carrying that potential baggage of finances and debt is hard. And also, as you said, you're talking about internships, which I think is a fabulous way to do it. How do you get that experience early in and just, doing potentially 7 years in the industry with all this stuff? So I think it's tricky at the moment. I think that architectural apprentice schemes are really good. I think internships are really good. And so I'm sympathetic towards people graduating now. It's a very different time than when I did. So, but there is some light at the end of the tunnel. I think the ARB see this, and they've actually trying to shorten the course. And to get people into industry quicker. And I think that's probably a really smart way to deal with this problem of a 5-year course, all that cost, getting people earning as quick as possible, I think is the right way to go. But that's how I feel about it. It's that there's lots of good intentions and we are getting them. But that is the problem. It's the costs from externally, the universities, and the cost of living has shot up. The price to live in London is, it's expensive. And so I think, but the way we do it is having that open conversation. And I think that by having that conversation and constantly evaluating it and looking at things, that's the way we're going to go with. That's the way we're going to hopefully solve
make it an
issue.
Easier entry financially, and it is probably the biggest challenge.
Yeah. Because let's say hypothetically you're working paid part, at HLW and studying part time, then you're earning money and you're spending money on the course.
You've got your student debt on your back. You've got a London rent, and you're entering the workforce on quite frankly architecture and interior design. A minimum wage, if not, you're lucky, kind of thing.
Exactly.
I think that's a bigger topic at the front end as well, that we as an industry need to standardize and get better fees and have more value around what we do for a living, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, true. That's going to take time, isn't it? And also there's other facets, and as you know, there's competition and there's all this crazy stuff going on. But I do think as well, architects have that self-worth, and that's why sometimes I always speak to architects, and we always carry the weight on our shoulders. And I remember, architects are cool. There's a bit of glamour in it. You do amazing stuff, change people's lives. And also we should be a bit commercially astute to charge for stuff. I always say, don't give away everything for free. It's like, come on, let's stick up for our value. And I do think that, one of the things I say is that maybe some designers are more uncomfortable talking about money, but I always say we're professionals. We should always have a high fee. We should value what we do and be proud. I know the real world is tough out there, but if we remember that at the start, you start there rather than start there, you know?
I think there is, you know, you make a really good point. When you do a project, no matter how hard the project is or how long it's been going, that day that you go and visit a finished project, or you get PC and you see the finished product and you see your clients so happy, that is, it's a non-financial reward, but it is really, truly a unique reward that we get in our industry that other people in other industries perhaps don't get. You know, maybe it does or doesn't, you know, fill that gap, but it is a really wonderful, it's the thing that keeps us going, I guess.
I think so. It's the bit that you don't get in other jobs. I mean, that's the reality. That's where while it's a profession, it leads into a hobby, a vocation, a passion, and there's very few careers that do that, in my opinion. That's why, you know, it's amazing. I'm whenever I speak to architects, you know, it's just impressive, and I'm still proud to be a part 2 architectural assistant. I have still a few friends, Bronte, that are convinced I will go back and do my part 3, maybe one day.
Never know.
You never know. But
I quite often say we're not saving lives, but we are enriching lives. So.
You are enriching lives. However, if I joined you on a project, I might endanger lives. So for now, I still know MicroStation. I don't even know Revit. You mentioned it in the trailer. I need a training course. You're like, Steve, you know, we talked about finances. You're bleeding us dry. And I'm like, do you want a cup of tea?
Don't get a pencil and a drawing board.
Yeah, maybe just keep me in the Halloween party for now. But thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I really appreciate it. The last thing before you go, if anyone, and we have had a comment come in actually, we've had someone that said, great conversation. So Godwin, thank you. However, if anyone else enjoyed this and thought, you know what, I hadn't heard of HLW before, but now I'm really intrigued. There's something, or they want to get in contact with you, how do they do that? How do they find you? How do they reach out?
It pops up on the screen. Go to our website and everyone's profile's there, job section, career section, etc. So yeah, go in and hopefully you can get in touch with us, or try and find us on LinkedIn.
Brilliant. Perfect.
Or come to industry events and come up to me and say, I saw you nattering away to Stephen, and just, you know, introduce yourself, because again, grow that network.
I love it. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for being here. Stay on the stage 1 second while I quickly say goodbye to everyone in the audience. Thank you for joining me here too. Now, quick thing, London Build Expo is next week. So pretend that you need to come down, let's have a laugh, tell your boss, sorry, HLW employees, don't say this, but everyone else, say you need to do a lot of busy work and come down and let's have a beer in London Build Expo. And maybe, Bronte, you do want to come down here as well. I would love for you to join us. I just have to be careful what I say there. I don't want everyone using that excuse. And then you're like, I know Steve told you to tell it's a work event, you know?
There's only so many beers I can have in an evening, so it might be dangerous, but yeah, we'll try.
Brilliant. And for you in the audience, we will be there next week. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to end the live stream now and see you soon for more content, more live streams, one next Monday as well. Take care, everyone, and have a fabulous Thursday. Bye-bye, everyone.